Hello Earth Science students. This is a really quick video to help you prepare for the quiz. This quiz is due before class on Tuesday the 5th of November. So you need to know the general composition of the atmosphere. Most importantly, you need to know that most of our air, our atmosphere, is made of nitrogen. Then there's also a lot of oxygen, and then in a much smaller proportion there is carbon dioxide, argon, and then even smaller proportions, helium and many other elements. But, important point, nitrogen is the predominant element in our air. You also need to know the four layers of our atmosphere. I guess I should say the four closest layers of our atmosphere. So going from the Earth up or out into outer space, we start at the Earth's crust at the sea level, at the troposphere, then the stratosphere, the mesosphere, and the thermosphere. As you can see, the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. So you need to know that order. You also need to know what separates those layers. There is no physical pause here. There's no bubble that surrounds the troposphere. There's no bubble that surrounds the stratosphere. These pauses, tropopause, stratopause, mesopause, those are the transition in trend of temperature. So as you can see on this graph, it's really similar to the one that you created in class. When you start off on Earth and you go up through the troposphere, there is a decrease in temperature. Once that decrease in temperature starts leveling off and then even changing to an increase in temperature, that causes the second layer of the atmosphere. Then the stratosphere is labeled. And again, when you get that transition from going positive temperatures to again going negative temperatures, that starts another layer. So the layers of the atmosphere are defined by temperature changes. So actually changes in temperature trends. So if you go from a trend of decreasing temperatures and then to a trend of increasing temperatures, is where that trend changes that you'll get the separation of the layers of the atmosphere. Within those layers of the atmosphere, there are certain things that occur. So most of our weather occurs within the troposphere. So all our cloud formations, all of them, but most of our cloud formations and our plains and most of what happens is happening in the troposphere. Although, with that said, an important point and something you need to know for the quiz is that the ozone layer lies within the stratosphere. And the ozone layer is not something we've talked about much yet, but it will be an important connection to solar radiation and how damaging rays from the sun don't hurt us on Earth. So you need to know for your quiz that the ozone layer is within the stratosphere. You also need to know, and this is a hard concept, we've talked about a lot, and I'm going to keep coming back to it, is that the radiation from the sun hits the equator, approximately the equator, of the Earth first, because the Earth is round. So the distance between the sun and the equator is shorter than between the sun and the North or South Pole. So because of the shape of the Earth, because of the shape of the Earth, the equator is hit first with solar radiation, and therefore that area is heated quicker or more than the surrounding parts of the Earth. This is kind of an extension of that concept. So here at the equator, there's a lot of hot air. And another important point for the quiz is that hot air rises. So you get these cells. You don't need to know that they're called Hadley cells. What you do need to know is that they are convection cells. So this hot air rises, meets up with cooler air and sinks, and then that process circles. And so this is a cell, a convection cell. Convection, as we talked about, is a process of movement of fluids due to different temperatures. So that movement of hot air rising, meeting cold air and sinking, and then going around and around and around. Last important point that you need to know for the quiz is why hot air rises. And I know you gave me really good definitions or descriptions of why hot air rises, but I want you to really remember the basic point that hot air rises because it is less dense. Cold air is more dense and sinks. Hot air is less dense and rises. Think about what sinks or floats in water. A little more complicated, but in general, more dense material is going to sink, and less dense material is going to float. So a bowling ball is going to sink, but a balloon is going to float. If you understand all of the information presented in this presentation, you are more than ready